Hello everyone, my name is Jasmo and it is late night. It is late night right now, and by late night I mean it's 8 o'clock for me. I am doing my third stream of the day. Hang on. Hang on. It's late night. My husband has meetings, and it's November 15th, which means halfway through NaNoWriMo or National Novel Writing Month, so I decided to stream extra long to help with people having extra pushes towards their writing goals, just to be there to support, to drive other people. I got a ton of support all throughout the day from a ton of fellow streamers and regulars and people I know, and thank you so much for all of that. Right now, I'm going to do like the official word count of the story that I've been working my butt off on. Oh, that's right. By copying and pasting all of it onto the site. Because, check your official word count total, you can paste everything. So, that's part 1. This is part 2. I didn't write them in different parts, I just ended up needing to split the story. Well, let's find part 3 here. Part 2, part 3, select all copy. I'm including the titles and all of the parts because I can. I guess I don't have to put a space in between them, but I am. And part 4. Oh my god. Pine Lord, hello, good evening to you. I'm kind of tired and validating. Successfully validated. Oh. Oh, there's the like 9 extra words are probably those like Hummer part 3, part 1, part 2, and so on. That's okay, yeah. Without them, there were not 200 of those, thankfully. Those 200 non-words, so yes. Am I part of the X-Men? I wish. I wish. So yes, successfully validated. Your official word count, different from what you were expecting, only by like 9 words, but I'm pretty sure I know why. There might have been a few extra words I added in there, so I wanted to lock that in. Because I could. Professor Oates, hey lady, hey, thank you. Yeah, thank you guys.
Ding! Let the writing begin.
Okay, and tonight, instead of doing my own word sprint setups, I'm gonna try and follow other people's word sprint setups. I'm not gonna actually be participating in them myself, but I will keep the timers down here as long as someone else is also streaming. So part 3, part 2. All right, let's find part 1. Save it and see if I can. There we go. There we go. Hey, there we go. Oh, let's put a little happy image up there in the corner, shall we? Let's find something. Oh, yeah. Okay, everything's working. Everything's good. It's all good. Oh, that is not what I was looking for. That is not what I was looking for. I'm trying to find like an inspirational image, but I don't think I have one off the top of my head because it's late and I've been streaming all day and I'm just kind of in the phase. Alright, let's what? Oh. I have no idea. Other than my little hummingbird that pretty much was there the entire time. Sure. Why not? Let's do that. There he is. Okay. There we go. Oh my god, why is it so late at night? I started streaming this morning in the dark, and it was dark by the end of my last stream today. Alright, I'm pretty much in the editing phase at this point, where I'm going to be reading and editing as I read. So it's not going to be like a smooth, just a whole one-shot read through. It will be interrupted by me making comments, getting distracted, interacting with chat, etc., etc. I will still try to do my best. And the first word that I saw was screaming. Lightning flashed, brightening rain screaming sideways. Holy crap. That's, broken. That feels a bit broken. Lightning flashed, brightening rain, that screamed sideways, or screaming sideways. That, yeah, that's kind of present-y tense. And this is what I mean by I'm gonna edit as I go along. There you go. Lightning flashed, brightening rain that screamed sideways. Wind howled through scraping tree branches, finding every nook and cranny to push the biting cold into. Bark snapped under weighted boughs. That is the wrong type of boughs. Sending pieces of shrapnel into the wind. There you go. That type of boughs. Only the sturdy stood stoically, bearing the brunt of such a ferocious storm. I did a lot of that in the beginning, like sturdy stood stoically. I can't remember what you call that, but it's in here. It's all up in here. Two small red furred bodies huddled in the hollow of one such sturdy tree that served as a home for many years. 7 nearly hairless babes rested between two parents, hoping that the storm would end soon. A sudden loud snap caught Roxy's attention more than it should have. Tucking in her brood against Chiff, her mate, she poked her head outside, eyes searching inky space, flashing in staccatos of lightning. Her eyes darted about to familiar spots where others made their homes. One such branch had been torn away and lied on the ground like a twisted snake made of stone. Alright. Don't mind my weird facial expressions. My eyes are like, it's sleepy time now. I usually go to bed at like 10 or 11, so it's just like the marathon running or streaming and the thingamajigs. I'm still going to take my breaks in between streaming. The tentative plan, by the way, and before I get too far in this, is to stream for the next 3, maybe 3.5 hours. It really depends on how long Jim's meetings go. If it goes for only 30 minutes, that's literally how much I'm going to stream tonight. so I can just flop on bed and spend time with him. We haven't really spent time together today. If his meeting goes for an hour, I will be streaming for an hour. If it goes for an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long, that is how long I will be streaming. So I could be streaming for a little bit, I could be streaming for a lot of bit. It's all dependent upon his meetings, of which this does not normally happen and is not a constant thing that will happen. This is just a once in a crunch time at his work. They have a lot of stuff to get verified and reviewed by Friday, and the people that he works with is not only here in the US but also overseas, over in Asia, so like coordinating their times to get all of this done together. It takes some finagling. It takes some finagling. God damn, it is bright, glary. I need a hat. I'm also really tempted to take my hair down because it's been up and tight, and I usually take it down in the evenings if I can, or remember to, or if it just bothers me. Anyways, moving on. There's about 1 minute left in the Chodfather sprint, because I think it is the Chodfather sprint. He is in there. So is Melody. So am I, because I clicked the link, but that's alright. Let's see. Without thinking, Roxy dove out of her home, tiny nails gripping slippery bark, only to guide her fall. Soft plush grass cushioned her last bounding leap to the ground, though it did not slow her frantic movements. Her mind already knew where the tiny nest was, her hopes trying to well up, only to be crushed by the deep vibrations of roaring thunder. Small eyes squeezed shut until she was close enough to lie underneath the fallen branch and catch her breath. Rain pelted all around her without mercy, threatening anyone without proper shelter. It took every ounce of her strength and will to move again. My writing style changed a whole bunch.
Time's up.
Time's up on the Chodfathers sprint. We'll see how they do. Oh, thank you, lady. Thank you. Oh, having your hair pulled back for so long can really like pull on your scalp. So, and I just got my hair done yesterday, so my scalp is a little on the tender side still. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. It's like changing out of your jeans when you get home from work. That's what this is like. Yes. Never mind my awkward fluff. Yeah. My hair still smells like all the products she used yesterday. Because I had my hair lady also like curl my hair for me yesterday because I don't own a curling iron. My morning voice is creeping in, which is also known as my evening voice. Jod. Progress. Awesome. Alright. I'm tempted to like... it would add to my word count if I actually like put in what I had edited and whatnot. So that's the reason why I copy and pasted everything so it was set in stone. Just in case something happened to my computer, my story would actually still be somewhere. I don't know if it's actually like all there and if I could find it and copy and paste it back somewhere else, but at least there is record of it and how long it is. Here we go. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the area just long enough to find what Roxy was looking for, the nest. She rushed over to it, hesitating for a single moment when only a small egg was present. Grabbed it quickly and started running back to say, oh, she rushed over to it, hesitating for a single moment when only a small egg was present. I guess she grabbed it quickly and started running back to safety. There you go. She's safe, Roxy told herself. She should be safe. When she arrived at her home tree, the small squirrel had a choice. Climb slowly with the egg tucked under an arm with the possibility of dropping it, or putting it in the safety of her mouth where her stretched cheek could keep it safe, or would keep it safe. There you go, Tech Angel, hello! You hit 20,775, still behind, but much better than where you were this morning. Any progress is good progress. You can do it. Maybe not tonight. If it's late for you, get some rest. Don't deprive yourself, definitely. Take care of yourself. Wake up refreshed and ready to go the next day. But if it's still early for you, you can do it. Like, you can do it. You can totally do it. Little by little. Little by little. And thank you, Tech Angel, for the host. Much appreciated. Sorry, I'm almost whispering because it's late at night. And my voice. Thankfully, my voice has not suffered much today, which is really nice. Okay. In went the egg after a particularly loud clap of thunder. The next instant, Roxy was climbing up the slippery bark. Up the slippery bark that would have spelled doom for the egg, she was certain. A few times she slipped, but her tiny claws were meant for their task, and they performed well. It's 7:12. Ah, you're an hour earlier than I am, actually, Angel. Kind of fried, though? Yes. Wordwind? Yeah, progress. Kind of fried. If you're fried... Oh, if you can't set a timer, just lie down and close your eyes for 10 minutes. Taking that dinner break was amazing. Amazing. And it's probably the only reason why I am still streaming. Instead of, like, doing straight up 13 hours in a row, I took a ton of breaks today. Took an hour-long lunch break, 2-hour dinner break. I took a break every 20 minutes. Oh, that's right. Speaking of, nice. Back to my group sprints. Let's see if anyone's got anything. No. That's alright. That's alright. What is it like? Sure. If you would like a word sprint, if you're looking for a word sprint, I'm going to set up a short one. I'll make it public. While I'm not sprinting myself, you guys can totally be sprinting away. Starts in about 5 minutes or so, if you want to. You do not have to, but I will set these up for those that would like to or need it, or however However, I'm just like... Back in the safety of her home tree, Roxy shook off as much water as she could so her new brood wouldn't be chilled by her body. Chif looked at her with relief at first, but then confusion at the bulge in his mate's cheek. She carefully extracted the tiny egg, holding it out for him to take, and he did, hugging it to his chest while Roxy finished drying off. Soon, freshly fluffed fur joined them in keeping their younglings warm, along with the new egg. No words were said during the storm, only shared heat needed to stay shared, and it did, even when the storm was over. Chilled air kept the squirrel pair inside until light started to brighten the horizon. "Whose is this?" Chif asked. I'm bad at voice anything, so I'm just gonna read it like a normal narrator and not really play the parts yet. "Whose is this?" Chif asked with a small stretch of his tiny limbs. As in, like, he's waking up and stretching. I'll probably need to fix that. I think it's Polly's, Roxy replied, cradling the egg gently. She rubbed her furry cheek against it to make sure it was still warm enough. "Then we'll have to look for her," Chif replied. He hoped his longtime friend made it through the storm safely. From all the debris he had seen just outside their hollow, it looked like the storm had spared very little. "Be careful," Roxy called after her mate. He nodded, knowing that he needed to steel himself for the worst. Other animals were already out taking in the damage that had been done. It had been a very long time since such a violent storm had passed through their peaceful meadow. The only thing that didn't look damaged or ransacked by the wind was the old overgrown cottage, which should be named a cabin. It is a cabin, there you go. Once out and down a few branches, Chif took a closer look at what was below. He could see Polly's branch lying out in the open, twisted among all the smaller debris and leaves. No hummingbirds were about. Actually, no other birds were flying across the meadow. Chif's eyes scanned the edges and found that everyone had gathered to look inward, even the deer. Scan the edges, of the meadow, and found that everyone gathered to look inward, at even the deer. "Oh my, officer, hello? Oh my god, Crazy Raid's awesome, guys. Hello, welcome. Melody, how did your stream go? And Dungeon Pug, welcome back. Sorry I left just as you got here, but I needed food. Delete that link. That's alright, Sean. That's alright. I've got my own link if anyone would like to do more sprints. They're more than welcome to. Pez Guy, hello. Everybody. I'm just reading from the beginning, the story. The story that took so long. Thank you for the raid, Melody. Much appreciated. I will try not to fall asleep on stream. I will try very hard not to fall asleep on stream. And JL, hello. Thank you, Melody. Yep. There you go. I've got about a minute until the sprint starts. If anyone would still like to participate in sprints this evening, or morning or afternoon, wherever you are. I'm just reading along, making small edits here and there. Finding the grammatical errors and the spelling errors, the places where I accidentally left out a word. I did the official nano count where I copy and pasted every single part that I had written to make sure it was in there. And the final word count, with all the little part 1, part 2 things in there, was 50,200 words. It's just... What a mess, he mumbled to himself.
Let the writing begin.
There you go. Let the writing begin. If you are writing, if you're not, that's alright. I'll make great background noise for homework or winding down for the evening or anything else. What a mess, he mumbled to himself. Looking up to his own hollow, he noticed how much work was ahead of him apart from what needed to be done on the ground. Half-hanging branches were a danger, especially the larger ones. They would need to be carefully chewed and the ground very clear for anyone for it to fall safely. Okay. A hefty sigh left him. The exhaled breath renewed with dread when he breathed in again. He still hadn't spotted Polly amongst the rest of the residents. Okay. Yeah, all the little tidbits. So this first reading over of everything is just to find those little tiny things that I could change easily. I'm not gonna like add new scenes or delete anything or be like, and if I want to delete anything, I'm gonna highlight it. And JL Draco, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. Welcome to the tank. Well met. Okay. Let me get in proper posture here. There we go. Instead of like all slouchy McSloucher. Nimbly, Chif climbed down his tree and headed for Polly's fallen branch. He found her nest there, empty of her and a second egg. He knew she had two. She had told him herself when they had been laid. He was so happy and proud of her that he had nearly crushed her in a hug. Pine Lord, you're a little late. No. Thank you, Tech. Also, guys, thank you for popping in this late evening for some of you. 18 minutes left in the sprint if you want to. Absolutely don't have to. You can be chill, relax. Oh god, just if you're done writing for the day, you are done writing for the day. Relax. That's probably the biggest thing, is just totally not late at all. Yeah, Pine Lord, yeah. Sorry if I'm speaking a little more quietly. I do not have the life and pep that usually comes with daytime. But I'm enjoying it nonetheless. Actually getting to read this, because I have not read the beginning of this since I wrote it, like 15 days ago. Where am I? Oh, yes. Now she was nowhere to be seen. Her second egg also missing. Oh god, I'm gonna cry. Ugh. The feels incoming. There might be some feels incoming. Emotional things. Clearly, Chif nearly couldn't bring himself to start looking for either. Polly was as close a friend as anyone could get. If they could have had a family together, they would have, but the divide in their species was unreasonable, and both wanted little ones growing up under their care. Ha ha! There we go. Oh yeah. Finding all that. 6, hello? Good evening to you. You're just riding a target-hitting machine today. Yes, everybody. Oh, Ran, hello. Oh, where am I? Chif stifled another sigh. He needed to expect nothing but the worst until he found otherwise. If he didn't expect the worst, it would hurt all the more when he did or didn't find out what happened. Thank you, Tech. Thank you for the favorite heart thingy on Instagram. Chirping and other animal sounds started to slowly rise with the growing light of the sun. Others were already busying themselves looking for those that had gotten lost or blown away by the wind. Chif waved to the burrowing owl family that was out in force, clearing away small sticks and leaves. They waved their wings back to acknowledge him, but also to relate that they were very busy and much needed to be done. He nodded back, setting his eyes to a branch pointed upwards from the base it was attached to. There you go. It would give him a somewhat better vantage point so he could at least scan the immediate area. Alright, so if anyone's just joining us in the story, a really violent storm just passed through a meadow full of animals, just wild nature animals, and that is what the story is centered around, are these animals. Oh, sorry, Ram, I misread your sentence. You are a target hitting machine today. A writing target hitting machine today. Congratulations. And celebration. Yes, celebrate your little victories, big victories, all shapes and sizes. I'm tired. Deep breath, he told himself, hands and feet gripping onto the still green limb. With ease, he climbed up it until it couldn't take its... Oh my god, I can speak. He climbed up it. He climbed up, there you go, until it couldn't take the weight. His weight as well, and started to sway side to side. Maybe? The weight. Oh god, not the insert button. Anything but the insert button. Don't do it. Okay. Things. The height was not exactly what he would have liked, but it was better than nothing. He could clearly see all the burrowing owl family, the prairie dog family, and more, all working, all looking. His eyes turned to the ground, searching out the familiar color of a calliope hummingbird egg. Its white shell would stick out like a red flower against dull moss. I am not delirious. It's not like I've already had a 10-hour day and plan to keep on trucking. Not yet, though you will. Yes, Rom. Yes, you will. If anyone else is doing nano, you can totally do it. Take the words of a very delirious person at this moment. I'm not delirious, I'm reading. There, Chiff. There, Blaine's there. Chiff eyes did not deceive him. He saw the white shell of a very small egg and leapt to the ground to bound over to it. There was little hope it was still viable after having been out in the cold and rain. Tiny hands cleared the taller grass away to reveal what Chiff had seen. Before him lied the pieces of an empty shell, his heart breaking into just as many pieces as he saw. Carefully he moved slowly so he barely disturbed the surrounding grass. His hesitating hands gingerly plucked each piece from the ground, stacking them on the largest piece in an organized way. He looked at them for a few moments before hugging them to his chest, not knowing what to do. This part was really difficult to write because finding an empty bird shell in this context is like finding the body of a dead child. I'm happy it's not as impactful, but it might be because I am tired. And yawning like a mofo. And getting a stuffy nose. I'm not getting sick, it's just, I haven't been super active these last, few hours. That's why I'm reading and not writing. Melody, good night, yes. Get some sleep. Thanks for streaming earlier today, and thank you for hanging out with me practically all day long. I really appreciate it. You are awesome and amazing. Have a great night. Sleep well, and I will probably see you tomorrow. Alright. Stop yawning. I don't need to yawn. It's not that late. Chiff? A familiar voice called. Instinctively, the squirrel held the eggshell pieces a little tighter until he turned around and saw a prairie dog staring at him. Doug, Chiff replied. The shell clutched against him. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Doug said softly, his eyes looking even more sad than they had been. Polly was the only female hummingbird to have lived in their meadow instead of the neighboring area where the rest were. She had stayed because it was closer to Chiff and his family. We have to look for her, Chiff said. Doug could see he was in shock, as so many others were. He had already instructed his family to go around and check to see what everyone else needed, since his own family had been safe and sound during the storm. We will, Doug replied. We will, he assured his friend. Chiff could only stand there, hugging the eggshell pieces. For now, the prairie dog approached the still shocked squirrel, standing next to him and putting a hand on his shoulder, which would be a paw, because critters don't have hands unless they're primates. For now, we need to take care of this. Put somewhere safe. Yeah? Let's see. Find a safe place to put it. Okay. Put them, because it's there are many shell pieces. There we go. Put them somewhere safe, yeah? Yeah, Chip replied without realizing. He let himself be led away from the fallen branch over to Doug's burrow. Everything was lost on him. Sounds bled together, his vision blurred. The only thing solid in his world were the broken pieces of a chick he would never get to meet, never get to help raise, or watch over while Polly needed a break for food. Needed a break or food. There you go. The feels. Polly, he whispered idly. She was still out there. She could still be alive. He needed to find her. Oh, Polly, he said with a little more strength. Slowly his eyes focused. The animals around him speaking started to make sense again. Sorry about the stuffy nose. Doug was organizing search parties. His mate Pebbles was taking information of who had already been found and who was still missing. Another injury, Doug, Pebbles called out. But all of the mallards are accounted for. Harlequins, too. Thank you. Good, Doug called back. He was about to return to assigning the blue jays to a few groups when he noticed Chiff staring at him intently, still clutching the eggshell pieces. He looked desperate. I just got a group together to look for Polly, Doug offered, waving his hand for Chiff to join him. The squirrel didn't move right away. You can be a part of it, but you'll have to leave. Doug trailed off. Chiff looked down at his hands where the eggshells still were. He couldn't let go of them, couldn't even set them on the ground for fear of them getting scattered. He looked to Doug, holding them out slightly, but Doug could only shrug slightly. Doug could only shrug. There you go. Wow. There we go. Realizing he had made a rude gesture, Doug walked over to Chiff and put both his paws on his shoulders. It's all right. You can stay here and watch over them. I've already sent someone to tell Roxy where you are. Chiff looked down, nodding. Doug returned to his groups, putting extra emphasis on care when finding anyone or anything. Words needed to be chosen delicately, as there were several animals that had lost loved ones in the storm. There we go. All groups nodded, sounding their silent agreement before heading out. Blue jays took flight, chipmunks scurried away. As they left, other animals arrived to give their reports to Pebble. Oh my, she said it at some rather tragic news. Doug, the old tree on the southern edge, finally fell. Anyone hurt? Doug made his way over to his mate, concern etched deep in their features. A couple are hurt. Brown and her family didn't make it. The tree. It crushed. She fell into her mate to stifle her own remorse. Brown was one of the few badger families in their area. The giant old pine tree had blown over in the wind, crushing their home and everything within it. It's all right, Doug cooed gently, rocking back and forth. Rocking both of them a bit. Oh my god, words. We'll all get through this, one step at a time. He pulled back from his mate, determined to stay focused and organized so that all lost members of their community could be accounted for and a memorial of some sorts held for them. Along with that, there was a lot of cleanup to do, a lot of rebuilding. They needed to keep their wits about them. There's about 6 minutes left in the sprint if you are sprinting this late at night. Or whenever, because this will eventually go up on YouTube. Let's see. Thankfully, it was only the start of spring. Everyone still had plenty of time to get their lives back together and prepare for the next winter, even if the next few days, or even weeks, would be the hardest they would face together. Doug, Chiff called weakly. His friend did not hesitate to go to his side, Pebbles right behind him. I don't know what to do with... He held out the eggshell pieces again. He wanted to keep holding them, but he didn't. He needed to keep them safe, but he needed to get away from them at the same time. Don't worry, Pebbles chimed in gently. I can look after them. She held her larger paws in a cup shape, showing that she could hold them all at once without crushing them. Sorry. This isn't from the fields. This is just from me being lazy this evening. Ooh, water. Yes. Oh, there we go. Okay. It took every ounce of Chif's will to hand over the pieces of what felt like his broken life. He had looked forward to Polly's chicks hatching so much. He didn't know how to process finding the empty eggshell in the grass with Polly nowhere in sight. It was a recurring nightmare he couldn't wake from, and the longer he was near those pieces, the longer he wanted to run into Doug's burrow and lose himself. Don't lie, it's the fields. It could be. I'm sensitive, so sensitive. Yes. Oh god, sorry, my scalp just feels very nice right now. From like pulling back my hair all day. Anyways, he needs someone. Pebbles whispered to her mate. She had already seen several others in the same state as Chif. They needed someone to watch over them so nothing drastic would happen. I've got him, Doug replied with a nod. He would not leave his friend no matter what, not when he needed him most. Doug and Chif sat down outside the family burrow, a paw never leaving Chif's shoulder to keep him grounded. The squirrel simply accepted his friend being there, even though he wanted to run away and never stop. It was too surreal to imagine a world without Polly. And Texas Kangaroo, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. Welcome to the tank. My name is Jasmo. I am usually a variety creative streamer, but during the month of November, I am writing for National Novel Writing Month of November. And since I hit the word goal today, like the actual 50,000 word goal today, I am reading back over what I have written, as well as still holding group writing sprints for anyone that would like to join, which there are a few. There's about a little less than 3 minutes of that sprint left, by the way. There you go. And if you're here to lurk, enjoy your lurk. This is a great place to just hang out and chill, especially right now when I am tired and it's late and I've had a long day, and I'm just gonna read. I'm just gonna read and do little minor edits here and there as I find them. Okay. Midday came rather unexpectedly. It was still a touch cool, but it was better than baking in the summer sun out in the open. Ooh, there we go. Deer had banded together to get the larger debris out of the open part of their meadow. What they could not move themselves, they waited until help. They were going to wait until help could arrive. Yeah. There you go. Because it hadn't arrived yet. Everyone else that wasn't looking for lost family or friends was tasked in taking in what damage had been done, what needed to be rebuilt, what couldn't be rebuilt, and so on. Excuse me. Extensive damage was everywhere. Save the cottage, save the cabin. I don't know when I decided to switch. Save the cabin where the male hummingbirds lived. They had suffered the least compared to everyone else that didn't live underground. It was thanks to them that they found nearly everyone, no matter what state they were in, quickly. There you go. Because hummingbirds are quick. Got about a minute left in this sprint. Many were confirmed as past from the ones that had been blown away or lost in the storm. As to how many stunned several of the residents. Brown's family, several smaller birds, a handful of chipmunks, even a few deer, not to mention the waterfowl losses, and an unfortunate skunk. Yeah, the storm had taken a very heavy toll other than the damage it had dealt to the flora, which are plants, all the plant matter. 30 seconds. I'm not always this tired, and I'm not always this chill. Only at night, and probably early in the morning. Anyways. All the while, Chif sat with Doug, numb and unfeeling once he knew the eggshell pieces were safe. His own family didn't even break through the fog because they too were safe. The fog felt like his safety, keeping him from feeling the inevitable crushing sadness that would overtake him the moment his thoughts cleared again. He wasn't sure if Doug was aware or not of how he felt. His family had survived untouched. And time is up for that word sprint. And take a little bit of a break. Like, my official break is coming up in about 10 minutes, so I have no idea how to handle the rest of the group word sprints, other than, there will be, I guess I'll start a group word sprint at the top of the hour, which means at the start of the next hour, if anyone is still or would like to participate in those. My voice is gonna be shot tomorrow. That's okay. That's okay, okay. So I'm gonna leave the word sprint blank until the next hour rolls around. So here's your chance to step away and take a nice good long break. Maybe make some tea or something relaxing, grab some water, stretch, maybe grab a late night snack depending on where you are. That sort of thing. Or just sit back and relax, close your eyes for a few minutes, try not to fall asleep at your desk. It would be uncomfortable. Alright. Chip shook his head suddenly. He couldn't let negative thoughts take over. He never liked it when they did, and neither did Polly. She always shook him out of it, highlighting the positive side of things, of which there always was to some degree. I guess there always were. There you go. Chip couldn't see anything positive about the storm, but he was determined not to let the negative invade. Negative thoughts? Sure, excuse me. I think Chip started but paused. He needed to go home, but he didn't want to be alone along the way. I think I need to go home, he finished, his eyes prying themselves from the ground to look up at Doug. I can go with you, the prairie dog offered. Chip shook his head. Doug was no good at climbing. Maybe Grumps? There you go. And little stupid things like this, alright. Grumps. The oldest of the burrowing owl family. He was the epitome of caring, and he could fly. Chip nodded. Grumps would be good company. Pebbles overheard the conversation and asked her son to get Grumps for them. The young prairie dog ran off as fast as he could, his understanding of the situation fully realized at the end of the day. It took several minutes, but finally a small tan and brown owl landed in front of Chip and Doug, more silent than a whisper. Large yellow eyes looked at them both, concern and pain underlying the comfort he tried to offer. Rock tells me you need some company, Grumps offered. Chip nodded numbly back, barely looking up at the owl. Well then, let's get going. His tone left no room for argument, but it wasn't stern. It was firm yet gentle, as he usually was. Oh, words. Together, the owl and red squirrel set off at a slow pace, Grumps opting to walk until he reached the tree, even though it was quite the distance from the prairie dog burrows. He was going to say a few comforting words along the way until he realized that Chip was walking as though he was asleep. It was concerning to the owl, who had witnessed others in his state. Others had lost very close loved ones and simply did not know what to do with themselves. Grumps didn't want to witness more and more of his fellow meadow residents in such a state. That damned storm was the worst he had ever lived through, and none of his ancestors had ever related something so absolutely monstrous. Yes, there had been years with stronger storms, but nothing like what had torn through their homes. Weather had been changing over the years. Seasons were getting less and less predictable. He wondered what the winter would be like at their migration destination. There you go. Up you go, Grumps encouraged Chip when they had reached his home tree. The squirrel looked up for several long moments, then down at his empty hands. The fingers of his paws wiggled, as if he was supposed to be holding something. Ugh, the shell pieces, the eggshell pieces. Ugh, sad. Don't worry, Grumps cooed. He even put a wing around Chip to comfort him. Little side break. I do plan on illustrating certain points of the story. The fun part is going to be finding out just how large each creature is in relation to one another. I don't know if a red squirrel is larger, the same size, or smaller than a burrowing owl. So that's gonna be fun. Okay, anyways. Everything will be alright. The squirrel snuggled into him before pulling away. Chif didn't want to collapse just yet. He wanted to feel Roxy holding him. Then he could collapse and let everything crush him. Slowly, Chif grabbed hold of the bark, his claws digging in just enough to give him a good grip. Grumps flapped silently and landed on a branch higher up, pausing to wait for his friend. Chif used the owl as a guide, making it his goal to reach him before he took off and landed on a higher branch. Yeah, gotta love that random research. Yes, I know I do. I love doing research for stories because you get to learn. You get to learn so much stuff, and I'm really tempted to close my door up. And of course they stopped talking. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I hope not. Jim is on a phone meeting and he put it on speakerphone. Mainly so they could hear him better, because the headset that he has, the speaker doesn't work quite right. And they can't hear him on their end. So if you can't hear the little or not so little voices, do let me know, and then I will know to shut my doors starting at the next hour. Oh, let me set up that group sprint. If any, you can be sprinting outside of the sprints that I'm setting up if you want to. If you don't sleep very much, or if it's not very late for you. There you go. There you go. And you can be sprinting in between on your own if you like, or just chill, relax, enjoy. Okay. Climbing made years flow through Chif's veins. He still didn't know if Polly was alive. No one had found her either way before he had left Doug's side, and he regretted not asking about her as his paws grasped the final few pieces of bark to lift him to his hollow. That is such a long sentence. Oh my god. When he peered inside, he expected to see all of his sons grown and his mate aged gently. He was surprised when she was still huddled around them, with a familiar white egg. Oh no, she was huddled around them and a familiar white egg. Okay, there you go. Sprints are typically how you get words during Nano, so helpful, yeah. Pez Guy agreed. You could, even if you wanted to, you could treat the countdown of this as the sprint. Yeah. There would be about 12 minutes left if you were treating it as a sprint, or if you're treating it as a break, you got about 12 minutes left of break left. There we go. Okay. Roxy had heard her mate coming, her attention on the hollow entrance. Grumps was the first thing she saw, his wing giving her a small wave of sad greeting right before Chif came into view. He looked absolutely heartbroken. He had been carrying the shells. Oh, had he been carrying the shell pieces, not shell. And I should probably put eggshell pieces. She would have known why. Chif, she whispered, trying to guide his slumped body inside. She held out an arm, hoping he would reach it on his own. He was dazed, eyes still unfocused, and when he did reach her, he simply collapsed next to their brood, his body curling up tightly. Before she could ask of any news, Grumps flew off silently, leaving her to wonder what had happened. Oh, Wordwin, that's what you were upset about the images for. Okay, I had caught just barely a snippet of what you said in Melody's chat, and I was like, why are you upset at images? Now I know why. You're arranging them around a newsletter, and that can be a pain in the ass. Oh, stuffy nose. I will hopefully take care of that on this next break, which is about now, so I'm not gonna read. Well, okay, when that reaches near zero-ish, it'll be my break time, in which I'm just gonna get up, stretch, make a few laps around the house. I'm gonna take about 3 minutes. If you have been watching or riding for a while, or you just need a stand-up break, I highly encourage that you do so. Take care of yourselves during this time when you're trying to really slam out those words. Like, you deserve it. There you go. Alright, 8:50 my time, 10 till the hour. I'm gonna get up, stretch, and I will meet you guys back here in about 3 minutes. Alright, we are back. Thank you for sticking with me through that short break. Officer Genius, have a wonderful evening. Sleep well. Thanks for popping in, saying hi, and hanging out. Really appreciate it. Yeah, and we'll catch you later. Oh, let's see. Yes, images can have minds of their own when you're trying to stick them in the thing. It's late. It's late. It's very, very late. Okay. Sun dawned a new dewy morning for the meadow and all of its residents. Work still needed to be done. Lost ones gathered and a commemoration service held once everyone had been found. Help to move the larger fallen trees to better places was on its way, according to some finches, in the form of some elk and even a moose. Wording, gotta sleep now, been trying to manage a better schedule, alright. Thank you for hanging out pretty much all day today. You're awesome. Get some good rest. Have a wonderful evening, and we will catch you later. Erica, hey. Pulling an all-nighter? Not really. Jim has, like, a meeting tonight for 3.5 hours, and we're 1 hour into it, so I'm streaming while he has his meeting because I can. And it's to also, you know, help support the people that are writing. Today is the halfway point in Nano. I'm still doing the sprints off to the side. I'm not doing the sprinting, I'm now reading. But they're still there for the people who it's not very late yet, or they're night owls, or what have you. The next one starts in about 4.5 minutes. It's about 20 minutes long. I really like the 20-minute type, 10-minute break thing. It worked well for me, even though I turned out to be a snail in the end. It was still really nice. It didn't feel as pressuring as some of the other sprints had early on. So they still felt fun and doable and not like hammering me into the ground. But to each their own. Some people really need that driving force of a hammer to get things done, but yeah. Now it's chill time. It's reading with light editing, chill time. I do apologize for all of my yawning. It's about 9 o'clock. It's almost 9 o'clock for me. I really wind down hard in the evenings. Bless you. Sorry. Anyways, moving on. Oh, thank you, Pez Guy. Do keep in mind that a lot of it is collaboration, which is I usually color other people's lines. A lot of it is not a lot of it, but a good amount is like my own original art from scratch. But most of it is not. I would say my gallery is like 80-10-10, 80% collaboration, 10% original art, 10% writing of any kind. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's just the way it feels. But thank you very much for checking it out. Pebbles and Doug were satisfied with how quickly most of their friends and family gathered together and each took part in what they could do best. Some consoled the ones that needed it. Others did heavy lifting and already a few homes were being repaired or rebuilt by the smaller inhabitants. The busybodies were busy simply so that they had something to focus on. If there was nothing to focus on, everyone would be in disarray, tripping over themselves. Thank you. Above them, Roxy gazed out at the activity, proud of her friends for taking such a strong focus in the midst of their largest tragedy. Her only reason for not helping were actually 7. She could not leave them, I guess she could not leave them, for more than a few moments, but Chif was in no condition to go out and get them food or water. She had to wait until Grumps came back to check on them later at midday. Later at midday. There you go. When he did, he wasn't surprised. The owl was more than understanding and took it upon himself to find a few extra paws to help. When he returned, several chipmunks followed in his wake with food and water so the squirrels could still survive. A couple of the smaller rodents were curious as to why Chif was so beaten down, but Roxy explained everything to them, asking them to return if any news of Polly came up. They silently understood and promised to bring back any information they could gather. For the rest of the day, Roxy thought about their future, the future of her family, +1. She knew nothing about raising a bird or how to even care for an egg. She regretted not asking the chipmunks for further help until she saw Grumps still sitting outside, his gaze falling across the meadow. There we go. Grumps, Roxy called gently. He turned his head in her direction, turning it much more than she thought it would. I apologize for imposing, but he held up a wing. You could never impose, he reassured her before nodding to let her speak again. Thank you. Do you know anything about hatching an egg? She glanced down and she glanced back in the hollow to make sure Chif was asleep. The steady rise and fall of his chest confirmed
Ding!
that she
Let the writing begin.
would, confirm that she wouldn't stir his feelings. Alright, 20 minutes start on a sprint if you are sprinting. If anybody is. A good number of you are. Awesome, guys. Awesome. You're rocking it this late at night. Which may not be that late for some of you. I do. Why do you ask? His head tilted to the side, making Roxy smile. I found one of Polly's eggs during the storm. I don't know what to do. Ah, well then. I will get Snow in return. Before she could thank him, the owl fell off his branch and swooped away silently. She returned to her family, taking count of each little body, making sure that they all slept soundly. Making sure... sure, I'll put in another word. Why not? Satisfied they would hold without her for a little while longer, she sat out on the branch to wait. Snow was immediately apparent the moment she came out of her burrow and from the ground below. She was by far the most white of any animal in the meadow, but instead of being shunned for being different, she was more or less the grandmother to everyone and Grump's life mate. She flew without a sound all the way up to the squirrel's home tree, peering inside the hollow when no one was outside waiting for her. Roxy was taking care of her newborns while Chif curled around them looking defeated. Something was different, though. A rather white, round object was also there in Roxy's grip. There we go. There we go. That is for Spaghetti Pine Lord. That totally is. Okay. Grumps told me you needed to hatch an egg, she said quietly. Roxy looked up at the pure white something with bright orange eyes and nodded gently, tilting the egg she held. Owl. It's owl. Jesus. It is owl. The pure white owl with bright orange eyes and nodded. There you go. Polly's, Roxy whispered back. Chif curled in a little tighter at the mention of her name. Snow nodded in return, stepping inside the hollow to get a closer look at the egg itself. The shell was undamaged. It sounded unharmed. Just hold it. Keep it warm but not smothered, Snow offered. Your fur could get a little too hot for it, but it should be ready to hatch rather soon. She nodded, smiling with her eyes as best she could. Yeah. The smiling with eyes, might get replaced. I'll have to think about it. It might get replaced by a different set of expressions, and it might be more voice-based than face-based. I did mention earlier today it was a lot easier to read contentment, satisfaction, being pleased in eyes and eyebrows, if the animal happens to have them, and those expressions aren't needing a mouth to help convey those feelings. Sometimes, I guess. I don't know. Oh my god. Thank you. Roxy looked down at the egg with tenderness. She could keep it warm, but not smothered. That was the simple part. The difficult part would be keeping her family fed while Chif worked through the impact of the storm. She was sure the chipmunks wouldn't keep delivering because of the distance they needed to climb, but for the immediate future, it would have to do. Do you need anything else? Snow offered. It pained her to see so much devastation in everyone else she had taken to actually hiding. Ooh. It pained her to see so much devastation in everyone else, I guess, that she had actually taken to hiding. There you go, a little better. Her empathy outweighed her ability to trudge forward and be of actual use. Even the consoling had become too much too quickly for her to bear so much of it. No, Roxy replied, but if you need anything, you can come keep us company. Snow bowed her head at the offer. Roxy had always been good at reading others. As in, she kind of got the feeling that Snow was overwhelmed because of everything. Roxy watched Snow back out of the hollow, then fall away as Grumps had. Her only wish was that she could soothe the pain her mate felt. That's kind of broken. I'm gonna leave it because I can't think very clearly other than just reading and finding the little things to change. Got about 1440 left on the timer. Several days rolled into one another until a fate had been discovered for everyone missing. After that, a commemoration was quickly organized just beyond the meadow? Nah. That's not, nope, that's not where I imagined it. Now. Maybe then, but now, no. Southeast? In the southeast corner. Yep. Oh, there we go. Stuffy nose returned. Return of the stuffy nose. The stuffening. Okay. After that, a commemoration was quickly organized at the southeast corner of the meadow where most of the fallen had been gathered. Burrowing creatures had already dug all the spaces that needed to be dug. Flowers and grasses gathered to lay garlands before finally saying farewell. Farewell, there you go. Don't ask me why they decided to bury everybody, because usually animals don't bury their deceased, they leave them and nature takes care of it. But apparently for this one, since there were so many that had died during the storm, they felt something more should have been done, and they did do more than what they would normally do. I should probably make a note of that somewhere, or hint at it, that this is a thing that they don't normally do. Actually, I can... burying. I cannot spell. Hey, there we go. Damn it, that's not it. Hey, one too many R's, okay. Uh, 12 minutes left on the timer. It's a long... Oh, there we go. It's a long note, but there it is. Okay. I like that feature. I'm sure Scrivener has something way better, way better. Let me try to look normal for the rest of the evening, because sometimes it gets Einstein up in here sometimes. My hair just kind of, because I'm always doing this. Got about 11 minutes left on the timer. Chiff could barely stand as Doug supported him. Grumps had come to get him, leaving Roxy behind to look after their brood. He didn't want to go, but he had to. Okay. He didn't want to go, but he had to know what became of Polly. No one had told him anything yet. And she was the only one they didn't have news on that he knew of. Doug hugged Chiff when Pebbles finally found them in the crowd of gathered animals. She had the information the squirrel wanted to to know so desperately that he gathered her into his arms when he saw her. Which is weird. Chif, I'm so sorry, she said, squeezing him tightly. I think, that she gathered him into her arms, because, I'm assuming right now that prairie dogs are larger than red squirrels, but I could be wrong. They could be about the same size. I don't think prairie dogs are smaller than them, because the prairie dogs I'm imagining are like, they're bigger than my face. The ones around here, there's some really big old fat ones. They're huge, but they may not be prairie dogs. They could be something else. Pretty sure they are, though. Prairie dogs, that is. There we go. Chif, I'm so sorry, she said, squeezing him tightly. What happened to her? His voice barely had any stability to it, especially after he had glanced over all the garland-laden bodies of their friends and extended family. Buzz discovered her, but not before Sharp. Aha! Sharp is the bald eagle that I wrote into the story at the very end today. And yeah, Sharp is a bald eagle. He does not actively hunt the animals that live in the meadow. He usually just eats the dead ones, to put it plainly. Rather roughly, but plainly, that's what he does. Yeah. Anyways, Chif cried out at the mention of the bald eagle. His longtime best friend had not got blown away in a terrifying, monstrous storm. Oh, had not only gotten... Let's try this. His longtime best friend had not only gotten blown away in a terrifying monster of a storm, but she wouldn't even get laid to rest with her empty eggshell he had found. Sorry. Yes, she would. I forgot. Even though Sharp eats carrion, basically, for him, he always leaves a part of the animal he ate, so it can be returned to nature naturally, and whether or not someone else eats the remains or they just decompose into the ground is up to whoever doesn't come across it. She wouldn't even get, I would guess, properly. Doug held him tightly, letting him get all of his feelings out. The squirrel yelled, thrashed his tiny little paws about, and generally fell apart. Everyone looked on, knowing just how he felt, as everyone knew just how close he and Polly had been. Because I mentioned in like the first few paragraphs that they would have had a family together if they had been the same species. That's how serious their relationship could have been. Okay. They waited until Chif calmed down a bit before putting their fallen to rest, covering them over with the freshly dug dirt so that they could give back to the meadow that had supported all of them for generations. And here we go, as the circle intended. And the circle is literally the circle of life. It's not really a religion among the animals, it is just a fact. They are well aware that they are born, they live, they die, they return to the earth, they basically get recycled, and it happens all over again. It's not really the reincarnation part, but the life is an ever-turning circle. 6 minutes left in the sprint, and so I mentioned it really heavily in the other parts that I had written, especially near the end of today, and I need to mention it more in the actual bulk of the story, so it doesn't just seem to kind of appear out of nowhere. Oh, God damn it. Stop yawning, please. Oh, okay. A few of the songbirds sang lamenting notes until the last was covered over and patted into place. More picked flowers and grass, I guess garlands, were placed over each grave. Mound. not really graves. I'm trying to avoid as much human reference as possible. That includes certain words. I'm not necessarily forbidding myself from using those words, because there are no other words to describe some things other than from our own perspective. So I'm trying to do the animal thing, but still keeping things relatable enough that readers can get into what's going on without having to really work for it. It just kind of flows. I don't know. I'm tired. It's late. Only a breeze rustled grass around the paws and hoofs, carrying away the songs until they were whisper. This I don't know. I think I back and forth on hoofs and hooves a little bit today. Hooves is the plural form of hoof, so it's not FS. It's just, well, okay, I guess either one of them work, because hoofs is also a plural noun. Yeah, it's a part of the foot of an ungulate, especially a horse, yes, hoof. So, and then it's just the definition straight up of hooves with a V is plural form of hoof. So I need to pick one. I essentially need to pick one. And I like hoofs better than hooves. Hoofs is a little bit easier to say for me, so. Control Alt C, there you go. There. Jesus. Things and such. Alright. Okay, so, and then we go suddenly. Days passed with more unusual more usual weather. There you go. More, the weather they were used to. Chilled mornings, warming afternoons, still early sunsets. The deer had taken to trimming the grass around the commemoration area with their grazing to keep it neat and tidy, at least for the year. Elk did come to help move larger logs to more convenient places. It didn't take very long since several males showed up, along with a good moose friend of their own. They were equally devastated when they saw and heard what had happened. A few stayed on longer to provide any support others needed, even if it was just a watchful eye for the night. Because their animals and stuff roams around there. Got about 2 minutes left in this sprint. Slowly, the meadow recovered over the following weeks. Wow, I just kind of smashed that in there, didn't I? The time, I just kind of shrunk it down. Anyways, all the support was something no one had ever thought possible, even between species. Yes, they had been living together for many generations, but a squirrel raising a hummingbird, chipmunks acting as a delivery service to bring food to those still too depressed to do much, and more. Chiff was one of the many that had been impacted so much he was nearly useless. Roxy understood, though, as did everyone else. Polly had been a shining positive light and friend to everyone in the meadow. She had a certain spark that endeared her the moment someone met her. I make it sound as if she was like the only super awesome loved one everybody lost. That is not the case. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to fix that right now. I will make a note. Come on, Roxy cooed to her mate. It had been over a month since the storm. Their sons were starting to be more active, and Hummer, Polly's son, had hatched and was nearly always hungry. Get out and stretch your legs. She rubbed his shoulder with a small paw, hoping that he would be able to finally go out again. Chif huffed a sigh, knowing his mate only meant the best for him. He still couldn't believe his friend was gone, and that a tiny, fluffless bird was all that he had left to remember her by. Getting away from the noise would be nice, he thought to himself.
Time's up.
Bing! Time is up, everybody. Get your word counts in if you participated. The next sprint will start on the half hour if you are sprinting still. He had already come to realize that he didn't care for the egg before it hatched, and he cared even less for it when it did. It was nothing like the sweet Polly he knew. There you go, Rox. There you go. Roxy helped push Chif up. He had hardly moved or participated in helping with their brood. She had taken on all the work herself, including getting a chipmunk to find a female hummingbird that could tell her how to feed Hummer. If you can, bring back a flower or two, she asked gently. 21,000, Tech Angel, you're doing it. You're doing it. You can do it. You got this. You got this. Everybody, you've got this. You're doing great. I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow. I've decided right now. I do believe I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow. I don't know if I've got about a little less than 9 minutes until the next sprint. I'm just gonna continue reading. Chif nodded without looking at her, his slumped body heading for the entrance of the hollow. And don't mind my intruding mic here. There we go. There. It's all good. Okay. There. A beautiful day awaited Chif when he crawled out onto their branch. He had somehow thought it would be cloudy, overcast, like it had been for the last several weeks, until he realized that it hadn't been. He had only imagined the clouds. It had always been sunny, the birds singing and the usual gentle cacophony of animals carrying on. I do not like this word. I do not like this word. There we go. And the usual gentle discord of animals carrying on. That's better. That's better. I do not like hard C sounds. The CH, like Chif, totally fine. Clouds is pushing it. And that's just a personal on me. Yeah. Anyways. Looking down, Chif spotted the elk that still remained in the meadow. Giant, deep brown bodies that looked like blackened boulders with antlers. The smaller gray deer around them cemented his thoughts that they were petrified statues left over from the fire, until they moved. He shook his head to clear his vision. Nothing really had changed other than some new growth here and there, and branches of trees healing from being broken. The meadow had recovered well, probably had started to recover well. Had begun to recover well? Just had begun to recover, and it was moving on. It was moving on. Yeah. Chif didn't want to move on. Even as he climbed down the tree, he refused to let go of his mourning so quickly, and thought others should be like him. They had commemorated? There we go, commemorated. They had only commemorated their friends and family members, maybe a moon ago. Seeing butterflies and bouncing prairie dog pups on the ground deepened his bitterness. Once on the ground, he simply walked on all fours, not caring to pay attention for predators, for they were the furthest thing from his mind. On the surface, Chif tried to remain calm and neutral. He did not want to lash out at anyone because it was taking him more time to move on than it did for others. He waved to Doug and Pebbles, nodded to a rabbit family, and generally acknowledged everyone who saw him on his way to gather a few flowers and a snack to take back home. Chipmunks approached when he neared a small pond, or the small pond, I should say. He went far away. Their smiling eyes beaming at him, and several were very happy to see him out and about again. "Do you still need a delivery tonight?" one asked. Strip was her name, and her stubby tail wagged in anticipation. I think we will," Chip replied, trying to smile back. The boys were still too small to leave alone completely, and... Oh, he's saying that. There are quotation marks there. Okay. The boys are still too small to leave alone completely, and he couldn't think of an excuse to make up for his lack of activity. He should have been the one taking care of his family, not the chipmunks, not other hummingbirds. "It's all right," Strip replied with a chirp. "We can handle it. Have a nice day." And she bounded away. Shaking his head, Chip leaned down to get a drink of fresh water. It surprised him how sweet it tasted, much better than the acorn caps the chipmunks had brought. The water was refreshing enough. He splashed his paws in it, then dipped his whole face in, hoping it would wake him from his nightmare. Oh my god, it's still kind of hard on him. Pine Lord, 20,000 words into nanobyte. Oh yes, tech, yes. Pez Guy, sorry I didn't see you there. Oh my lord, just broke 33k, want to get 34. Pez Guy, you can do it. You can totally do it. You've got this. It's not that late at night. It's not that late. Right? Right? I think so. Alright. John Father, welcome to the Flak Trap Ray. What? Hello. I don't think I have my raids enabled, so I don't actually have a thing for them. Because if Melody used the raid command and you use the raid command, that means I have not set up my raid thing. Oh, peasants, that's alright. John Father, thank you for the raid. Much appreciated. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Thank you kindly. We've got a little less than 3 minutes until our next sprint. For any of those that are new here following the John Father, hello, my name is Jasmo. I am usually a variety creative streamer here on Twitch. But during the month of November, I specifically do writing for Nano. Yay! I also do normal writing during the week, usually on Thursdays and Fridays, but on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I do art. Thus the little art slideshow below my face. Hello and welcome. Well met. I usually don't stream this late. I usually stream in the afternoon, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, and go for about 4 hours. Professor Oates, raid! Raid! Yeah, it's a raid! Thank you guys. Yep. What else was I going to say? I forgot. I forgot. It's late. I forgot. I stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. If I hadn't said some version of that already, it's late. Quick, hide the moonshine. No. Don't hide the moonshine. Oh, that's right. I'm doing an extra long late night stream tonight because it's the 15th of November, which means that's halfway through Nano, where hopefully peeps are working their way towards 25,000 words, which means any participants in Nano should be, not should be, but they are working towards 25,000 words. And some are super close, some are past it, some are way past it, and some are not even near it, and that's okay. Yeah, Nano halfway panic? Don't panic. Just relax. It's probably getting to the point where it's like super repetitive. You may be having writer's block. You just don't know what to do, or you're tired of writing, you can't find the time to dedicate to it, or you don't want to because it's impeding on your life. It's okay to take a break. It really is. It's okay to take a break for a day or two. But it wouldn't hurt to plan around that to be able to still keep up with your goals that you would like to hit. So if you take like a day or two off during the week, maybe try to fit in a little extra time on the weekends. Not necessarily just one big old section of time, but maybe a couple of smaller ones. Got about 10 seconds until we start a sprint. Yeah, yep.
Ding! Let the writing begin.
And go. Yeah. I can tell you, the closer you get to the goal, at least for me, the closer that I got to it, the more I slowed down. I had finished my story at about 36,000 words, and I was kind of like, oh crap, what now? Oh my god. And magically pulled out the rest of the words after that, because I found different parts of the story to write, but it took a long time, and I did it at a snail's pace. Today's motto is definitely slow and steady wins the race. And it did. And it did. Okay. Chappy chapstick. Or at least what's left of it, it's pretty much empty. My chapstick is pretty much dead, even though there's plenty of it left right there. Anyways. Standing tall, water dripping down his face, he did not feel any different, other than more awake. Nothing else changed. Polly was still gone, as were all the others. There's nothing he could do except to what everyone else did, I am lightly editing today, or this evening, during the stream, so I'm reading and lightly editing. There's nothing he could do except what everyone else had done. There you go. Move on. He started to recognize that his thoughts were turning in circles, the same circles he had been spiraling ever downward in since the storm. He couldn't think of what to do to climb out of the spiral. Chiv! Doug waved a paw at his friend, hoping to connect with him. The poor red squirrel had stayed in his tree for so long, Doug wasn't sure if he would ever see him again. Doug quickly, but not too quickly, went to his friend, who waved back at him. Solemnly? Solemnly. That's not how you spell that. There's an N in there somewhere. Hey, there it is, solemnly. Damp fur made slouching shoulders that much more apparent, making Doug sigh heavily. Is do and had done mixed tense. I think did. I like the sound of had done rather than did. I don't know why. I'm also trying to keep all of my tenses firmly rooted in the past as much as possible, unless context dictates, there you go, dictates otherwise. Yeah. Got about 17 minutes left in the sprint. It's alright. How have you been? Doug had acted as a counselor with his wife for weeks, trying to console those that couldn't be consoled. There were a few like Chiff that couldn't bring themselves out of their slumps. Managed to go out today, Chiff said with a weak shrug. Roxy is with the little ones. Hummer, he shrugged again. That's good. Doug smiled with his eyes, holding out a paw to direct Chiff into walking with him. There we go. They both did, they both walked. There you go, towards the flowered part of the meadow. Doug, well aware that the squirrels needed them. That the squirrel needed them. There we go, for Hummer. The elk have been a big help, Doug tried, but failed to initiate small talk. Chiff only nodded, his eyes glued to the path in front of them. Everyone's homes have been repaired or rebuilt. Oh, the songbirds have been scouting for foraging places for the winter. They found a few good spots. Chiff nodded again, barely hearing his friend. Hey. Doug stopped and turned his friend towards him, paws on his cheeks. You take all the time you need. We're all here for you. We'll help you in any way we can, as long as you need it. Chiff's eyes finally focused on the prairie dog's face. It was so kind. His eyes full of so much concern. There you go. It took a moment, but he finally realized what Doug had said. Thanks. I don't know how to get past it. Doug let go of his face, shrugging his own shoulders. That's what we're here for. That's what we're all here for, Doug reassured him. Chif nodded, a slight glitter of hope reflecting in his eyes. Together, the prairie dog and squirrel gathered a few flowers and nuts, along with more acorn shells of water for Roxy. She had been so strong in the aftermath that Chif didn't even know what he would do without her, or what he would have done without her, without everyone else. There we go. A more upbeat spirit seemed to take over his body when Chif climbed his home tree, flowers in hand, snacks in cheek, and water balanced. I have no idea where. He hadn't felt so normal in what seemed like forever. Roxy was more than happy when Chif returned, even more so when she saw the light had returned to his eyes. She hugged him tightly before taking most of his burdens and setting them aside. "How is everything?" she asked, her face expectant. "Elk are still here," Chif replied, eyes falling to the side to look at his sons. "Songbird scouted a good foraging area, you know." That's me going, he shrugged slightly, his body slumping to the floor so he could curl around quickly growing sons. Probably around his quickly growing sons. Yeah. Oh, space. There you go. That's good. Roxy smiled with her eyes, her body turning on reflex when Hummer started to stir. She took up one of the flowers Chif had brought back and started to feed the little bird before he could make too much of a ruckus. Because, my God, they're loud. After that day, Chif started to go outside again. Sometimes he simply sat high in the trees, eyes unfocused on the distance. Sometimes he traveled to the ground to gather food and water. Roxy had no complaints since he was getting fresh air again. She just wished he would consistently provide for them so the chipmunks could help someone else who needed them more. Still, days passed, the boys grew, including Hummer, and soon the little hollow that used to feel like a giant cavern felt small and cramped. The shrinking sensation continued into summer when the boys could finally start running around on their own and Hummer started to take wing. "Boys," Roxy yelled, "settle down, your father will be back with breakfast." She pushed one son aside to reach two others as they rolled around on the floor and nearly out of the hollow entrance. She caught them both by the scruff and hefted them back inside. "Hummer," she called, looking up. The hummingbird had taken to nesting above the squirrels as soon as he could, even though he was still quite young. "Eat something before you leave." She held up a flower Chif had gathered the day before, waving it around so it would catch his attention. Hummer peeked over his tiny nest to see a flower right below him, one of his favorites. He hopped to the edge and stuck his face in, long tongue reaching the nectar deep within. The sugar rush gave him a burst of energy that he needed to make it to the cabin. Aha, this is where I started using cabin instead of cottage, apparently. Excuse me. "Thanks, Mom." Hummer's voice was more of a sped-up trill than words, but Roxy was getting used to it, as were the boys. "Can we go out too?" Oh No asked, eyes blinking rapidly at his mother. "Later, after the dew is gone," she reassured them and the others. "Oh, but why do we have to wait and Hummer doesn't?" Bounce whined. "Because I won't slip on wet bark," Hummer explained, wings taking up a rapid hum so he could float down to his brothers. "Right, Mom?" "That's right." Or "that's right." Or I have no idea how inflections should go here. Conversation and dialogue, oh no. I don't know how many times I have to keep telling you all this. Wet bark is slippery. Falling is dangerous. She put her paws on her hips, leaning over the circle of young boys, hoping that they would listen to her. I'm back, Chif called just outside the hollow. Scratcher and Stuffer hopped up and bounced over to their father to take a few things off his paws, most notably the nuts he had found. The boys passed around what they had and started to eat before Chif had even made it inside. They get much more hungry, and they'll have to start coming out with me, he said, handing over a nut to his mate. 7 heads snapped in his direction, eyes beaming. But not until the dew evaporates, they all said as one and sighed heavily. I guess that's the right thing that would happen to the dew, is it evaporates in the morning. Yeah? Chif smiled with his eyes, patting Bounce's head before holding out another flower for Hummer. Thanks, trilled Hummer, taking advantage of the meal. He could hardly keep his excitement contained after finishing, licking the last few drops of nectar from his beak. When is Mage coming? Roxy inquired to Chif. He said he would be right behind me, the squirrel father confirmed. Should be here. Hello? A low-sounding trill whispered from the entrance to the squirrel's home. Ooh, to the squirrel home. There we go. Either way is fine. A deep green head poking around the edge with bright magenta feathers accenting his throat. Dew dries. Okay. Thank you, Wordwin. Thank you. I couldn't think of a word, and that's probably the word I couldn't think of. Thank you so much. Got about 9 minutes left in this sprint. Okay. Alright, bye. Hummer buzzed and took off, shooting out the door and around the tree before circling back and landing on the main branch. He's excited today, Roxy called out quickly. Mage nodded, knowing just how excited he had been when he first got to leave the nest. Evaporates would indicate that they knew moisture, content in the air and water cycles. You are correct, Wordwin. You were very correct. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, it didn't even occur to me. Even though I'm like, I want to leave out all human references if I can. Evaporation would be a human reference. Drying would not be so much of a human reference, because animals dry their fur all the time. Or feathers, or what have you. So thank you for catching that. You're awesome. You're amazing. I thought you were getting some sleep. Thank you for not catching sleep so you could catch that for me. We'll be back before sunset, Mage confirmed, then hovered into the air in front of Hummer. Take it slow. Take it slow, New Wings, I guess would be his nickname. Keep your eyes on me so you don't get lost. Oh, the cat wanted out. You have to wait till the little jerk comes back in. Oh, let's hope the cat comes back soon, so you can get some rest. Hummer nodded emphatically, erupting into his own hover. His eyes locked onto the larger hummingbird and watched as he turned around and started to fly rather slowly. Mage took his time descending down the tree. He could hear the impatience in Hummer's wings. He wanted to move faster and was twitching side to side. Patience, Mage called up. To emphasize, he looked up and caught Hummer circling above him. You may have energy now, but by the time we get there, you might be ready to head home again. Hummer tried to listen to Mage as best he could. Living with the squirrels had helped him curb his incessant twitching and needing to move, but as his brothers got older, holding still wasn't emphasized as much. In fact, his brothers were worse than he was. Dew-covered grass flowed beneath the 2 hummingbirds when they were low enough to the ground to start moving towards the cabin. Hummer heard all sorts of stories his brothers made up about it, and he wondered if any of them were true. It was his first day actually traveling to it, though it wasn't his first day leaving the nest. He had flown around the tree in the afternoons, playing with his brothers and getting into not-so-serious trouble. Mage had only been introduced a few days ago when a chipmunk relayed Roxy's concern for not knowing his own species. Okay. Hummer didn't mind either way. He was happy to fly around the tree with his brothers, drinking nectar from flowers his parents brought back home. He knew eventually he'd have to get his own food, but if he never saw another hummingbird, it would make little difference to him. Or so he thought. The closer they flew to the cabin, the more wonderment started to take over his thoughts. Though his eyes had been mostly on Mage the whole time they traveled, he could start to hear the hum and buzz of other hummingbirds, and it was loud. Tiny bodies of green, teal, magenta, and white flitted all around the cabin, and more were perched in the nooks and crannies. Mage flew to the top, where a broad spot looked more than comfortable enough to land on. This is a calliope hummingbird, by the way. This is an actual photo, and this is me trying to draw one and color it. Alright. Boys, this is Hummer, Roxy and Chip's son. Mage introduced him to the older hummingbirds. They all nodded or stuck a wing out to greet him. This is his first time, so we'll take it easy for today. Sound good? Mage looked back at Hummer, who nodded, trying not to show how tired he was. Mage had been right. Hummer was already tired from flying to the cabin from his home tree. He could still see his home tree, I guess from where he was. But it looked miles away, and he couldn't believe he had traveled so far. And thank you, Wordman. Alright, pair up with someone and we'll start on the basics. Other small hummingbirds started to gather on top of the cabin, all looking to be about Hummer's age, and all of them looking just as tired as he felt. A few were already cringing, not wanting to do more than they already had. Thankfully, the older hummingbirds were experienced teachers and reassured their new fledglings that they would be able to make it home after they were done. What's really dumb about that sentence is that they would be able to make it home after they were done. Okay, it's not so dumb. Okay. Is that the male hummingbirds live at the cabin. What's not so dumb is that the hummingbirds that are Hummer's age still need to go back to their nest, and the lady hummingbirds live in the neighboring meadow, so they need to fly back there. Okay. Oh, I thought I had made like a huge mistake. Okay. Flying was the foremost emphasized topic. How to flit, how to shuttle, how to sprint. It took nearly all day and several flowers to keep everyone awake and attentive. By the end of it, they were allowed some time to rest so they could make it home. Hummer wasn't sure how to feel when he started to travel to his home tree. He was too exhausted to think very much, and if it wasn't for Mage, he would have stopped in the middle of the field to take a nap. Scratcher and Tosser helped Hummer inside the hollow when he finally made it home. He looked more than exhausted and could barely thank his brothers for the help. Roxy was concerned but kept her distance, opting to speak with Mage first. "How did he do?" Roxy asked quietly. Chip was out again gathering dinner. Stuffy noses, He did as well as the rest. No different, Mage reassured her. We worked them pretty good. It's alright if he stays home tomorrow, but I will drop by regardless to check in. Oh, thank you. She put a paw on Mage's shoulder in thanks before he left. She watched him fly away in hopes she would see Chip, and she did. He was carrying a veritable bouquet of small flowers, and his cheeks were stuffed to the brim as he climbed upwards. I don't actually know how squirrels do their thing, so that's the image we get. She waved down to him and was about to go down and help when she heard a tumble of bodies. "Ow! Hey!" Bounce cried. "Watch it!" Tosser yelped back. "Mom!" Hummer trilled. "They're doing it again." Roxy leaned over to see what was going on and saw her boys wrestling while Hummer watched, a tired but happy gleam in his eyes. His words were more teasing than anything, and the boys didn't stop their tumbling about even when she shook her head at them. They had so much energy. The sooner they were strong enough to go out on their own, the better. Holy good lord, I need a small break. I'll take a break at the end of the word sprint, which is in about 1 minute. Chip topped the branch, holding out his flowers to Roxy as a gesture, knowing she would only hand them over to Hummer to drink from. She took them, inhaling their scent deeply with a gentle smile in her eyes. The only positive aspect the bird had brought into his life was that Chip was perpetually bringing his mate flowers, and he imagined each time was a special occasion. His Yeah, his boys were rough and tumbling around the hollow when he looked, the cause for his mate to be standing outside, and for a few moments he tried to enjoy the view. Watching them grow up helped pull him out of his depression, but every time his eyes landed on Hummer, all he could think about was Polly and that she was gone. Oh dear. He sighed deeply, the food he brought back waiting to be unloaded so they could all eat together, but he didn't want to interrupt the fun the boys were having. It took Roxy putting a paw on his shoulder to convince him to do so. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Bing! Time's up.
Time is up. Everybody, get your word count in. I'm gonna get up and walk around a little bit more. It is a stand-up break time for me. And if you have been watching or writing for a while, I highly encourage you get up, maybe stretch, wiggle around at least a little bit, maybe grab a sip of water or something. And I will meet you guys back here in about 3 minutes for maybe another hour of streaming and reading and awesomeness. You're awesome. Alright, we are back. Pesguy, be right back, alright. Oh my god, now it's late. For me. I usually go to bed around between 10 and 11, but Jim is still having a meeting, so we're gonna keep on keeping on, really. And it's okay if you guys don't put in your word count, but all of you did. You're amazing, you're awesome. Guys, you're doing such a great job. The next word sprint, just so you can have a break, is going to be at the top of the next hour. So if you need a longer break than 3 minutes, like, take it. Go for it. Or if it's your bedtime, oh, get some rest. Sleep well. But if you're planning on staying up, you can participate in the next word sprint, which is in about 5-ish minutes or so. Can't clean my glasses. I'm just like, I am fading. I am so fading. Oh no. Even if Jim streams past, not streams, if his meeting carries on into the night, I'm gonna stop after this the last hour. It's only one more hour for me, or so, like, yeah. My god, today's been a long day. Today's been a long day, but it's been a pretty awesome day. It's been a pretty awesome day. Fluff my hair, be all sorts of all sorts of stuff, things and such. All right. I think I might also be getting to the point that I need to rest my voice. Ugh. A little longer. Oh man, it'd be sweet if I had GIMP open. I could just take the last hour and do art. Because I am also a visual artist. Nope, the month of November, writing, pretty much only writing. Oh my lord, bleh. Hang on a moment. Okay, thank you much. I am going to give my voice a little bit of a break. Good God. And I'm giving my voice a break by literally just my phone, because Melody also made 50,000 words today. Coffee is literally pumping out of your eyes, Professor Oates. Oh my, you're gonna be awake for quite some time. And word when you're surprised, Google Translate actually pronounces your name decently. There are symbols over letters. No, those are okay. I was like, I've never seen those symbols over letters before. Yeah, oh, I see. I've never seen those letters before. That is why my brain is going, why do those look like really neat looking letter P's? Rest the voice. Must rest the voices. It is precious. Very nice. Oh, I can feel the sleep in my eyes. Usually when I really start pawing at my face, that is when I know I will fall asleep within a few minutes of actually lying down in bed. So 2 minutes until the next sprint for those of you night owls or fellows across the ponds. Mornings, I believe. Hopefully. I don't know if I'm making sense anymore, so don't mind me. Outside of reading, don't mind me. Okay, a minute and a half left. How is everyone doing? Don't have to answer, you can lurk away. Just kind of enjoy it. Enjoy it. Oh. That's right, I can close this. I don't necessarily need it. What page am I on? I'm on, holy crap, page 11? And I've been reading for 2 hours. I'm curious. I'm so curious right now. How many words have I read? That's a lot. Pez Guy, welcome back. You had to use the piece and Google freaks out at that. Okay, okay, I see. When the slap happiness starts in, we're all in trouble. Yes, already. You've already had 2 laughing fits. One was during a death scene. Oh noes. Oh noes. Yeah, it's... You get so tired, it's almost like you're tipsy. But, that's pretty, oh dear. That's why I highlighted 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Boop. Boop.
Ding! Let the writing begin.
Let the writing begin. 20 minutes, guys. 20 minutes. And my Fitbit is telling me, hey, it's time for bed. I'm like, I know it's time for bed. It's okay. Shush now, little Fitbit. And maybe sync. That would be nice. Why? Come here. Okay, really quickly. Go away. You are not disconnected. I swear to God, I'm going to turn you off and turn you on again. For some reason, alright. My mom got me a Fitbit Flex 2 last year for my birthday, and it's helped me tremendously. And up until maybe about a few months ago, it did a really good job of syncing up with the app on my phone. And then the phone is just like refusing to sync at all. And it's not great, but I'm not gonna flip out on it. Your typing is suffering, the edits should be epic. Oh, yes. I dislike you right now, Fitbit app. Wordwin, sometimes the same. Laughing during a death scene, mostly at imagining the reactions of the readers who don't expect it. Yes. Yes, indeed. Okay. Chiff clapped his hands, his paws, to no effect. He couldn't speak and grumbled silently to himself. He couldn't speak. There's just a whole bunch of really... This is bad writing. This is just bad writing. Anyways. Boys, Roxy interrupted, stepping in between Oh No and Stuffer before they could lunge at one another. Dinner time, she said calmly, and walked through them to hold up the flowers for Hummer. All the squirrel boys gathered around in a circle to leave space for their food, which was more seeds and nuts, more than enough for them and their parents to eat their fill after seeing how much Chip had brought back. I don't know if that's how they actually do it, but still. While the boys picked through their meal, Chiff and Roxy watched, taking turns holding up the flowers for Hummer. Eventually they wouldn't have to anymore, and Chiff was looking forward to that day. The geese should be arriving in a few weeks, Chiff mentioned nonchalantly. Roxy nodded, knowing what it meant. Think Hummer will be ready by then? He asked. His tone wasn't as fatherly as it should have been. It sounded more like he wanted to be rid of the small bird rather than wish him well on his journey, which is not how I read it. He'll be ready, Roxy replied in a firm tone, or he'll be ready. He will be... I don't know. I'm tired. Yes. She glared at her mate, knowing all too well why he wasn't very fond of Hummer. She had hoped Chiff would get over that particular set of feelings and start seeing him as his own individual, separate of Polly, but still a piece of her that was worth cherishing like she did. Oh my God. Oh, Wordwind, I think you hear a feline at the door. Hopefully sleep is near. Hopefully. Let's see, is there a cat behind door number only back door? It's late. Chiff pulled back, not knowing why his mate took such a tone with him. He was only asking if you can start staying with the boys in the morning, Roxy announced. It'll be nice to finally stretch my legs. She nodded to let Chif know her word was final. He merely shrugged and handed over the flower so she could hold it. The last flower? Sure. Because he had more than one. Hummer heard his parents' comments, listening and knowing what their tones meant. He was well aware that Chif did not like him very much, but he didn't know why. He also didn't want to ask, fearing the answer, so he stayed as quiet as he could while in the hollow, except for when his brothers dragged him into their shenanigans. Hyder looked up from his brothers once they were done eating, noticing that Hummer looked a little down. He could tell between tired and down, and his bird brothers certainly looked down more than usual. "Let's play a game with Hummer," he suggested quietly. "He's really tired, though," Bounce whispered back. "Yeah, what game can we play that doesn't involve—" Tosser's mouth was suddenly covered. "We can ask him about his day," Scratcher chimed in. "Yeah," Ono agreed, nodding. "We don't know what went on over at the cabin. We can ask him if the stories are true." All 7 heads nodded at once. It was the best they could do without running their bird brother ragged. Oh, he went outside, but then you let him in, and he starts in on the litter box. Oh, word went, "I'm so sorry." I'm so sorry. Cats? Cats, yes. "We're going out," Bounce announced to their parents, eyes glancing up at Hummer. He looked back down at his brothers, trying to look too tired to do anything. As in, Hummer looked back down at his brothers. All right, Chif said suspiciously. "We just want to hang out on the branch, is all," Ono chimed in. He also looked up to Hummer, smiling with his eyes and nodding. The rest of his brothers did the same. Sleep now? Alright, good night, Wordwin. Thank you for hanging out today. I really appreciate it. Good to see you again in chat. Sleep well. Have a wonderful night, and we will catch you later. Alright, Roxy told them, but only if you stay in front of the hollow. No running around so late at night. One tiny claw bounced at them, promising consequences if they disobeyed. "Yeah, sure," Scratcher promised and led the way. Paws waving for Hummer to follow. He did so, but only buzzed to the ground and walked outside with them. His wings were already sore from the day. There you go. Got about 13 minutes left in the sprint. Hummer walked outside to where his brothers had gathered. The few that could sit still sat next to one another, while Bounce swayed upside down from a branch above them. "So," Hyder encouraged, "how was the cabin?" "Yeah, was it spooky?" Tosser asked. "Was it crawling with bugs?" Stuffer asked. "Was there poison ivy?" Runner finally spoke up for the first time that night. Hummer tried to think. He hadn't been paying too much attention to the cabin itself, just the other hummingbirds and what he was told to do. "I didn't pay that much attention," he admitted. "Well, what did you do?" Ono asked, joining Bounce to hang upside down. "Yeah, why did you go to the cabin?" Stuffer scratched his chin with a back paw. "Oh, Mage took me out to learn hummingbird stuff." Hummer puffed his chest out a little bit, pretending he was more special than they were. "Hummingbird stuff?" Bounce asked. He tilted his head to get a better view. "Just flying," Hummer admitted, deflating. "It's really hard." "How many other hummingbirds were there?" Runner asked, his body melting onto the branch beneath him to stretch out. Hummer's eyes went wide. "Lots," he replied. "The air was vibrating. There were so many hummingbirds there, not just my age." And not just my age. His brother scooted closer, Bounce and Ono leaning in as far as they could. There were older hummingbirds, some that looked 3 or 4 generations old. They were teaching us how to fly, how to dart, flit, and shuttle. "Shuttle?" Tosser interrupted. "Yeah," Hummer buzzed his wings into a burst so he could float for a moment. "That's the hardest one," he told them. "Oh," or "ooh," his brothers echoed. I'm really bad at that, I apologize. They didn't really know what it was like to be a bird, and each one was glad they had Hummer as their brother to give them insight. "Boys," Roxy called, "it's getting dark. Time to settle in." She poked her head out of the hollow, only to see the most endearing sight she could hope for. Chif peeked over her shoulder and saw the same thing. All of their sons gathered together, looking back at them. Their parents knew it was going to be a rare sight seeing them all hold still for so long, and they drank it in, committing it to memory, even Chif with Hummer included, which is the most awkward thing. Tech Angel, awesome, congratulations. Words written today, 3,748. That is awesome. Oh, water. You're amazing. You're doing it. You're doing it. You can do this. Anyone participating in Nano or working on a project or anything else, you can do it. I have more words to accompany that, but it is late and I'm tired. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Got about 10 minutes left in this sprint. 21,296 total. You're exhausted. Yeah, I bet. Get some rest. You deserve it. I'm like, rest. It sounds good right now. Okay, I need to fix this sentence though. I need to fix this. Let's see. Committing it to memory, even Chif with Hummer included. They drank it in, committing it to memory. I guess it makes sense. It didn't sound quite right. If you stop for the night, you'd still have to write over 5k words tomorrow to make par. Ugh. That's a lot. That is so much. Well, it's about 9 o'clock for you. If your bedtime is usually around 10, you got about an hour left. There's 8:40 left in the sprint right now. But don't push yourself too hard. That's the other thing. You can't push yourself too hard. You don't want to burn out or get sick or just not want to do it anymore because it's not fun anymore. Tech Angel, if you're on a groove and you know you can keep writing, keep writing. But if you're kind of stuck or at an impasse, pick a different scene or something that really sparks your inspiration. Find an image that you're like, yes, and you can just go for it. Got about 8 minutes left in this sprint. Pylord, yeah, I'm still here. Jim is still in his meeting. I'm still here. My voice is holding out so far. Bedtime usually around midnight, and you're still getting over a cold. Dude, Tech, take it easy. Don't stress yourself too much, especially if you're still getting over being sick. That's the crucial time, is like when you start feeling better, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can start doing things, and then it sets you back. And then you rest again, and then you start feeling better, and then you go do stuff, and then it sets you back. Take good care of yourself. Please, please. At least take it easy. It's alright if you're writing at a snail's pace, only like 50 words here, 50 words there. Every little bit counts. Slow and steady will help win the race. Where am I? What am I doing? There we are. Okay. Reading on. Okay. Then, probably then, comma, they all moved as one in a small stampede of paws and feathers, running their parents over with love before taking their usual places to sleep in. Hummer continued to go out with Mage every day, even after his first day, and sore wings threatened to keep him home. Hummer didn't want to disappoint the others, and he was sort of making friends with a few of them. They weren't really friend material, though. Many, if not all, of the male hummingbirds were very competitive, especially in their diving and shuttling flight patterns. He wasn't sure as to why that was the case, and when he did ask Mage about it, He could only shrug and say it's what attracts the most. Hummer was going to ask him what diving and shuttling attracted, but he felt as if he should already know. I lost my words in there. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my eyes are doing the little droopy wave thing. Alright. That makes no sense. Along those days, Hummer's brothers became more and more active, stronger, and eventually started leaving the nest when he did, so they could go out to forage and play. Chip and Roxy even went with him, and sometimes they ended up watching Hummer with the other hummingbirds and doing their own acrobatics while they waited. Those weeks were the best in Hummer's short life. He was so grateful to have a supportive family and returned the support when it was needed. Oh No sprang to paw and nearly fell into a depression if Hummer hadn't thought of other games. Of other games he could do that didn't need the injured limb. His other brothers followed suit and made sure to keep his spirits up when Hummer was out learning how to fly. I might stop at the half hour because voice. It needs a break. Oh my god, it needs a break. Life was normal after those weeks, and Hummer wholly expected to keep carrying on as they had been, even when he started to notice a change in the weather. Days were becoming shorter, the air was getting colder at night. It wasn't much of a difference, but he noticed it, and so did the others. "The geese are here," Runner called out when Hummer was about to leave for the morning. He had never seen or met a goose before, just the ducks that lived at the pond in the meadow. Roxy had told them all what to expect, so none of her sons would be scared of them, for they were quite larger than they were, even for birds. Mage was sitting on the branch, confirming that the geese had arrived. In particular, it was once again Span's family. Beige followed him in, along with her 3 young ones, to land at the pond. Their arrival meant it was going to be time to leave very soon. "I've told you about the migration," Mage asked Hummer. The young bird nodded back. Himself not really believing in it. How could such small birds as themselves fly for weeks at a time to avoid the supposed coming cold weather? "That's our ride." Hummer's head tilted to mimic his brother's motion of confusion. Mage had never mentioned riding another bird for their migration. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh my god, pond. There we go. Okay. Come on, we need to introduce you all. He waved his beak at the squirrel brothers, who looked at their parents. With a nod from them, they all filed out of the tree and down the trunk to cross the meadow. All of the other animals were also moving towards the pond. It seemed like the whole community wanted to see the peculiar geese, only Hummer didn't know that they were well known to everyone except those that had been born that spring. "Span!" A large rabbit called out. Everyone had gathered around the pond, and there were waving wings and paws all around. Jesus. The geese in the center bobbed their heads back with gentle eyes and their own wings slightly waving, their feet turning them around in the water to include everyone. A few hummingbirds flew right up to the family and started a conversation that carried across the water like an echoing cave. "The rest are right behind us. Some will take a day or two, but we have enough time," Span was explaining. Hummer was perched on a thick reed with the rest of his family sitting below him. His skeptical eyes kept being skeptical because he still didn't believe that he was going to leave home for several months. That doesn't read the way I want it to. He doesn't believe that he was going to leave home for several months, as in he wasn't believing that he would be away from his home for an extended period of time, rather than he didn't think he was going to leave for several more months. He was comfortable. He didn't want to leave. Surely he could stay with the squirrels and wait out the winter. Span continued on his report of the other geese that were due to arrive soon and what the weather had been like. He was aware of the storms that had passed through in the spring and was sad to report that there were others as the weather was starting to turn again. He wasn't sure what they would be like ahead of them, but if there was a storm, he had a backup route in mind to take. Now, he finished, flapping his wings to get his family's attention. Go meet the new kits, rub wings and fur, get to know them. Some of them will be your passengers this year. 4 heads atop long necks bobbed back. Hummer wasn't sure he wanted to meet the geese. They looked like no other animal he had seen. Their long black necks and bulbous tan bodies with white breasts seemed too alien. How did such large birds fly? Give them a chance. Hummer looked down to see Roxy gazing up at him. She had seen such a sour look on his face before when she had encouraged him to try a different type of flower for dinner. He really only preferred 1 or 2 types, but... Time's up. But they were starting to dwindle in numbers since they had to be picked for him. He turned his beak up at the offer only twice until Chiff stepped in and smushed the flower in his own face, yellow pollen sticking to his fur as he explained that it still tasted like nectar to him. Alright, that's gonna be my last sprint for today. I'm hoping this doesn't say -48. Earlier today, when Morbid was participating, she had like -4,000 on her count. Maybe that's just me. That's totally fine. You guys don't need to post your numbers. I am going to highlight this so I know where to pick up tomorrow. I'm going to continue reading too, and editing. Reading and lightly editing for this first pass for the rest of the month. The rest of the month is what it's going to be. I might write a little more, it depends, but I'm going to call it for the night. My voice definitely needs it. So thank you everyone. I don't know if you can leave a negative number, but thank you everyone for watching this evening so late at night. I really do appreciate it. If you are new around here and you would like to know when I go live, you can hit that follow button on Twitch, and you can also follow me on Twitter, where I will update when I go live more accurately than Twitch will let you know. So yeah, I will be on tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific for more regular streaming. I will still have writing sprints down in the corner to cheer, and I will be cheering you guys on who are participating. And Nano, you're awesome. You can do it. You can do it. It's late. I'm tired. Good night, everybody. I will catch you guys all next time.